Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. Today, doing the what's next on Vergil Ortiz, the undefeated welterweight contender on the rise right now, following a dominant TKO victory over Michael McKinson. McKinson took him longer than anybody else did. He went into the 9th round for the first time, but nonetheless, Ortiz got him out of there with a breakdown after not fighting for a year. So pretty solid performance. Ortiz continues to look good, but now, you know, the big question is what's next for Vergil Ortiz Jr. We're going to run through the top 10 and see what possibly could be there following this win, as he's highly rated in every governing body. He's highly rated. So we're going to see. Let's run through some of the options and we'll go from there. We start with number 1, the undefeated unified champion, Errol Spence Jr. Ortiz is the number 1 contender to the, I believe he's number 1 in the WBA right now. So potentially, you know, the WBA could order that if the, the WBA could order that if the fight with Spence and Crawford does not happen. And again, Ortiz is doing the Spence and Crawford dance. You're going to hear that a lot through this What's Next video, because he's not going to know if it could be an option until he's done. Now, I don't think the WBA will order that fight. I really don't. If Spence and Crawford don't happen, I think he's more likely to fight the next guy, which is Terrence Bud Crawford. Because I think Top Rank and Golden Boy would be more willing to work out a deal for, well, actually, Crawford's not with Top Rank anymore. So Crawford would be more willing to work out a deal to fight Ortiz because that's his number 1 contender. And again, Crawford's next on my list right now. And I think if that fight doesn't happen, I think there's a very good chance that we could see Crawford and Ortiz. That's who Ortiz, they brought it up in the ring. Ortiz says he's ready if the fight can be made, if Crawford and Spence doesn't happen. So yeah, I definitely think that this fight has some legs to it if Crawford and Spence do not happen. Now, number 3 is Yordenis Ugas. I don't see this one. Doesn't make any sense. He's with the PBC and Ortiz is with Golden Boy, so I'm not seeing that one. Number 4, Keith Thurman, the former unified champ. You know, I could see it happening if the WBC were to order these two guys to lock horns, because right now, as it stands, these are the top 2 guys in the WBC. Keith Thurman's number 1, and right now, Vergil Ortiz is number 2. So if the WBC came out and ordered a mandatory fight, especially if Spence and Crawford happened, which most people feel it will, it's very likely you could see Ortiz and him locking horns to determine a mandatory number 1 contender. It could happen. Will it happen? I don't know. With Thurman being with the PBC solidly and Ortiz with Golden Boy, it seems less likely unless the 2 sides want the fight. And I mean, why wouldn't Thurman want to take on, a guy that could get him a title shot? So I think there's some legs to this fight as well. Now, next you got Jaron Ennis. I don't think these guys, even though they're highly rated, I don't think these guys are ready to lock horns with each other. I think Ennis would be down. I think Ortiz wants to go and make sure these guys are world champions before the fight happens. Can't blame him for that. I mean, that's going to make the fight even bigger. Let the fight get juicy and get bigger, and then, a potential showdown like this could happen. But I don't see it happening next. Now, Danny Garcia has dropped out of my top 10. He's moved up to the 154-pound division. That's why he dropped out. So we don't discuss him. Imantas Stanionis. Another fight that has some legs to it because Vergil Ortiz is number 1. If Errol Spence decides to fight, if him and Crawford end up fighting for undisputed, then Imantas Stanionis, what if he's ordered to fight his his number 1 contender, because he's the regular champion, in Vergil Ortiz? I think that fight has some legs to it and could very well happen. But again, with Stanionis being with the WBC, and with Stanionis being the last mandatory, as he defeated Radzab Butayev, I'm leaning towards the fact that I'm leaning towards that it's more likely we're gonna see Ortiz not fight Stanionis next, but we'll see. You got Cody Crowley. Not seeing it just because Crowley is not as highly rated, and he's also with the PBC. So there's it doesn't look like a clear way to make like a mandatory fight in one of the governing bodies between him and Crowley, unless other guys pass on it. Like one of the governing bodies orders, or a couple of them order Ortiz to fight somebody, and then somebody passes, and then Ortiz moves down the line, after that. That's the only way I could see that going down, but I don't think so as of right now. And then you have Radzab Butayev, former regular champion, also with the PBC. My opinion, it's not likely for that to happen because he's tied to the PBC. So for Vergil Ortiz, the other options that are with Golden Boy are Blair Cobbs, who's coming off the win over Maurice Hooker. Nice win. And then there's Alexis Rocha, who has a win over Blair Cobbs last year. His only loss is to Rashidi Ellis. I think that makes more sense, but if Ortiz does not get a Terrence Crawford or a mandatory fight next, I think it's very likely we see Ortiz fight one of those two guys, Cobbs or Alexis Rocha next. So we'll see what goes down, but I think we're going to see Ortiz back before the end of the year. And that's the what's next on the undefeated welterweight contender Vergil Ortiz, following his 9th round TKO over Michael McKinson on August 6th on DAZN. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.